I'm here with Mel Gibson.
Hello. This is Sam Jackson, and not the Sam Jackson we all know. She's a woman.
I am not an actor.
Nope.
We have, though, I am a health coach, and we have been working on...
A nutritionist, yes. On my nutrition, on my health. And I was bemoaning the fact, in fact, in this very place, that my my spare tire, I couldn't get rid of. I tried all kinds of diets, intermittent fasting, you name it, and nothing was quite working. And she suggested an idea and a plan. And it was pretty good. In 8 weeks, I've lost like 14 kilos, and all my clothes fit. My back doesn't hurt anymore. I sleep better, and it was pretty miraculous, really. So I feel good, pretty healthy, and you know, basically you're eating more often, but better, and you're drinking these 2 shakes every day, and then.
And chicken, broccoli, and rice, and this is so funny. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally jacked at 65, you know, nothing to see here.
It just, you know, 8 weeks later, bingo, here I am. So it's good.
Build some muscle?
Yeah, work out a little, got more energy to work out. You know, it's just all around your health. It's better. I might live longer.
And we have more fun.
Yeah, more fun. I think I got rid of something, what do you call this stuff that I was storing?
Visceral adipose tissue. We don't want that.
VAT.
Yeah, that's the nasty fat.
Visceral adipose tissue. It's just useless garbage that you drag around. And it weighs, I guess, about 14 kilos. Or it did on me. So, like, I lost how many inches? I can't even remember.
10 inches. 10 inches around the waist, which, for those playing at home in metric, that's about 27 centimeters around the waist.
Yeah. And 14.
I mean, if you're going to lose your accent, I mean, come on, can we just lose the metric? Come on.
14 kilos is roughly 30 pounds.
Yeah. So we've done really good.
And I didn't get all like weird skinny or anything. It was just, it's kind of a healthy weight loss.
Oh, I wonder how he did that.
And you're looking good.
Yeah. You know, better.
Feeling good. We're a good team.
Yeah. At least I fit in the mirror. Anyway. All right.
What a good team.
Thanks.
This is super funny, like, I mean, when I forgot, so this is TRT for Warriors. This is a new episode. Yeah, here I am just chilling, hanging back. This is the second time I had to do this video, by the way, so I'm kind of out of it. And, dealing with OBS Studio and different audio stuff is pretty ridiculous. But, so I kind of want to go over this, you know, celebrity transformations and that sort of thing. We don't really talk about this as, you know, as often, but it's pretty important. And, you know, they have an opportunity to really speak out and, you know, to get information that's out there. And I thought this was really interesting in terms of, you know, Mel Gibson's personal transformation, but also medical knowledge and whatnot, and how he's, we'll find out, you know, kind of in this story or whatnot. But even in that past thing, you could tell he's already on hormone replacement therapy, right? He's a 60-year-old kind of guy. He's jacked, great shape, holding on to, you know, 200-something of lean muscle mass, and he can still go do things, and he's married to somebody who's in their 30s, so yeah. It's, what do you want to be? Do you want to be unhealthy, in the hospital every day, or do you want to... I love how Mel Gibson's, like, the final grug, boomer daddy you have to face if you're, like, in the, at the bar and you're a lady and like, so what do you want to deal with, right? Some 22-year-old guy who like doesn't have his act together, or the 60-year-old jacked Gramps who's like totally grug, and like it's super hilarious. He's the final grug daddy that you have to face at the end of the night at the bar. I really don't understand the differences between embryonic and your own stem cells and the reason why they'd be better or not better. There's got to be something there, and I guess maybe different illnesses might affect them in different ways. I don't know. So, you know, on top of that, you know, Mel Gibson's obviously on hormone replacement, and I mean, you can't be in your 60s and jacked and married to somebody in their 30s. without being on hormone replacement. And the question that I've always asked is, so what do you want to be? Do you want to be feeble, fucked up, and sick all the time? Or do you want to be jacked, dating 30-year-olds in your 60s? Come on. Get with the program. What's going on here?
I'm building a team of like-minded people who want to become superhuman. Join us in pioneering human evolution and become enhanced.
I don't know how to resize this. This might be all fucked up when you're watching it.
First of all, HGH is an amino acid. Yes, an amino fucking acid. Don't believe me? Here's what Sylvester Stallone said in one of his interviews back in 2008.
Well, you're in Australia, and you got detained because of you were in possession of human growth hormones against the law in Australia. You said it's a medical condition. The cynics are going to say you had those things because you're off going to shoot Rambo, and you wanted to be pumped for the role.
It's not pumped. See, what people don't understand about HGH, it's an amino acid. A long time ago, people didn't understand what they were talking about, so they just lumped everything. It's like saying aspirin is also a painkiller, but so is Percodan, but you can't put them in the same family. So it's really archaic the way people perceive HGH. It's amino acids, 191.
At this stage of your career, though, would you do something like that to, artificial to get yourself in the kind of physical shape to...
He was talking about growth hormone secretagogues before we even knew that they even existed. When he got popped, he had like a Chinese version of a growth hormone, and I'm gonna go on a limb here and say it was a secretagogue. And at the time, we didn't even know what a peptide amino acid, kind of complex was, right? And he's on some other shit at the time, right? Because no one's talking about this kind of thing. I mean, it didn't even barely exist. I think this happened in 2008 when he got popped for it, but. As we go through this, we're going to see him, right? He's from his, 50s until he's in his 70s currently. And the guy's sub, 15% body fat, visible abs, jacked, working out. He's got younger kids. They're in their 20s, right? So this guy's, doing pretty good. And he's not sterile, right? So all this stuff is proving hormone replacement therapy is something important that we all need to be adding. And if you're going to be living virile into your 70s, you pretty much got to be doing what he's doing.
You cannot, and I only wish it was true, you could just take something like that and you're in shape. You have to put in years and years and years of hard labor to stay in shape. It enhances. The most important thing about HGH, and I think a lot of people should really be aware of it, is it takes off the wear and tear, especially if you're an athlete. The amount of beating that your body takes, the power to recuperate is very, very limited. So all it does is expedite. People think that if that was the case, everyone would be a superhuman being.
Yes. No, what say you? If Sly says that HGH is an amino acid, then it is an amino acid, goddammit. What's up, elite athletes and anabolic heroes?
So, the guy doing the video, it's really funny because he doesn't know the difference between real growth hormone, secretagogues, peptides, and different medications and how they're different, right? So this guy's just going to assume, steroids are steroids. And he kind of knows the differences between Anavar and different medications, but he has no fucking clue between the differences of what he got popped with, which was a human growth hormone secretagogue or type of peptide medication that is not controlled, and it's a peptide that you can buy over the counter. So it's not even something that is even controlled, although he was in Australia when he got popped, so who the fuck knows what's going on in Australia? They have all kinds of weird, stupid laws. But it is interesting when we're talking about this, right? And the average person doesn't know the differences between this, also doesn't know that your pituitary and your hypothalamus produce these hormones, let alone that they even go down throughout age, and the fact that they can change your life and heal you. So it's not even worth talking about in public, because unless you're going to have people out there like Sylvester Stallone doing campaigns for hormone replacement and traumatic brain injury and explaining it to people, it's a pretty complex topic, and really we're dealing with they're not bringing their best. And some, I assume, are good people.
I'm back with another steroid cycle. This time it's the guy who got millions in the gym. This guy is the reason that fitness industry is always a booming business. Well, let's not talk about the scamming fitness cult and make this video boring. Sylvester Stallone is a living legend in every sense of the word. Renowned for his roles in the Rocky movies, as well as the Rambo movies, he is one of the most recognizable names and faces in action movie history. Not only has Sly been around for more than 4 decades, but he's also one of the most impressive physiques in history. Notice how we said has rather than had. That's because despite now being in his 70s, he's still in better shape than most people in their 40s, this junior. This has led to people asking, did Sylvester Stallone take steroids?
Let alone
Well,
20s
while we don't know
these
the
days.
answer for certain, we're going to try our best to get as close to a definitive answer as possible. You see, because he looks so great as a relatively mature age, people are questioning whether Sly is natty or if he's on gear. In truth, however, as he's gotten himself into such amazing shape over the course of his career, people will always accuse him of juicing. But were these accusations justified? Here's a look at whether or not Sly Stallone is or has ever used anabolic steroids. Who is Sylvester Stallone? If you grew up on action movies in the 80s and 90s, then Sylvester Stallone is a man who shouldn't need an introduction. Sly Stallone is one of the most famous action heroes in the world today and at the ripe age of 72. He's still kicking ass and taking names now. Having played an arm wrestler, a boxer, a Vietnam veteran, countless cops and assassin, explosive expert, and countless other roles, Sly Stallone is a man that knows how to play a kick-ass action hero. As it turns out, however, he also is a very talented dramatic actor, writer, and director as well. In fact, when it comes to the movie industry, there isn't much that Sly can't do. One thing we know about Sly Stallone, however, is the fact that he still has one of the most impressive physiques in the industry. At his peak during the 90s, he was big, ripped, and vascular. This is one of the reasons why people seem to always accuse him of using steroids. Whether he was or was not on gear, one thing is for certain, in fact, that he worked his ass off in the gym and the kitchen with his diet, and his hard work paid off. Movie career. Sylvester Stallone made a name for himself in Hollywood as an action movie star. But it was actually a drama that put Sly on the map. Decades ago, back in 1976, in fact, Sly Stallone wrote and starred in a low-budget movie known as Rocky. The movie was about a streetwise boxer who leads a troubled life. As a PR stunt, Rocky is given a title shot against world champ Apollo Creed. Everybody expects the nobody boxer to get destroyed by the world champ. But he more than holds his own. He goes the distance and very nearly upsets the champ. The story's heartwarming, uplifting, and motivational, and won countless awards over the years. It also puts Sylvester Stallone on the map. Shortly after, he played a Vietnam veteran named John Rambo, who returned home and was ignored, wronged by the government he fought for. Rambo: First Blood had been yet another critically acclaimed movie that showed Sly Stallone as a vicious and pretty jacked badass. Now the action roles kept coming thick and fast. He played a cop in Tango and Cash alongside Kurt Russell, who, by the way, has barely aged himself over the course of the last 30-plus years. He also went on to star as John Rambo a further 3 times, Rocky Balboa a further 6 times, soon to be 7. And despite not being as active as an actor, Sly still kicks ass on the big screen on a regular basis. Sylvester Stallone physique. Now that we have a brief overview of some of the roles that Sly has played, we'll now take a look at his physique and how it's changed during his various roles. Sly stands at 5'10" tall and weighs around from 160 to 210 pounds, depending on which role he's playing. When he played Rocky Balboa for the first time, he was pasty white, fairly muscular, but had a body fat percentage of around 16% or so. He had visible abs and slightly vascularity, but wasn't ripped to shreds. He was around 180 pounds and looked like a typical boxer you'd see down at your local gym. When he played John Rambo again, he looked very similar, though perhaps slightly leaner, as he was playing a soldier returning home and suffering the effects of PTSD. For Rocky and Rambo 2, however, Sly made some huge improvements to his physique. He trained for hours.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this video is because I think that voice is Devin Stack, Black Pigeon. I'm not really sure if it's not Felix Rex. It sounds like him, but I'm not 100%. But, you know, the fact that they mentioned the whole PTSD and veterans thing, whatnot, it's traumatic brain injury. And it comes from damaging the hypothalamus, the pituitary, which destroys your pituitary hormones and all the rest of the hormone cascade, including your cortisol and your human growth hormone and your testosterone. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this video was to say that, you know, Sylvester Stallone was way ahead of his time, and we weren't really ready to hear that. And also, we're in the midst of a gigantic war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and thousands of Americans were dying, and nobody wanted to hear it. And nobody wanted to hear the fact that traumatic brain injury exists, and the fact that we're going to be treating this stuff with steroids. And so it's pretty important, you know, thing to mention and whatnot. And, you know, I was looking around for different articles, and it's actually kind of hard to find the information, but, you know, according to Balance My Hormones, which is a hormone replacement clinic in the United Kingdom, if you need treatment ginger out there, you can go to those guys. They said, you know, Sylvester Stallone is well into his 70s, but he's still making appearances in the iconic action movie heroes Rocky and Rambo. Part of the reason he has managed to maintain his impressive levels of physical fitness is because he uses TRT as well as human growth hormone. And yeah, they don't really mention a source or whatnot for this, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, you're not going to be in your 50s or 60s or something like that and maintaining this level of vascularity and, you know, 200-something pounds of lean mass. And what does that get you, right? It keeps you out of the hospital, it keeps you from getting sick, and it keeps you from having age-related illnesses, which are caused from metabolic illness. So it's the benefits significantly outweigh any sort of negatives that you could possibly come up with. And you know, as we know too, the studies have been even on 650 milligrams testosterone for cancer patients, and in his case, I can tell, you know, he's probably up there in the 300 to 600 range of milligrams of testosterone. And hey, you know, you want to use higher dosages and you're safe and your red blood cell count is fine and you don't have any high prostate numbers, or, you know, all your other metabolic numbers are healthy, fuck it, do it. You know, how else are you going to have 20-something-year-old kids like he does and be able to hang out with them and go do stuff and be active and be a movie guy and a director and whatnot? He can, right? So what do you rather be? Rather be sick or rather be healthy and working out and living a good life?
Hours each day, he was unbelievably strict with his diet, and he lost a fat while gaining lean muscle. He was ripped to shreds and dropped as low as 3% body fat. He also got a hell of a tan, which made a huge difference. He was vascular, his abs looked great, and his arms were huge. And he looked like a bodybuilder, which is the same case for John Cena. As the years went by, he packed yet more muscle onto his frame for the various roles he played. During Demolition Man in the 90s, however, Sly starred alongside Wesley Snipes and looked bigger than ever. He was over 200 pounds of solid muscle and looked to have added at least 30 pounds of muscle. This was all while still having vascularity and visible abs. In Copland, Sly gained weight in the form of fat, as he played a washed-up cop. This is the first time that we'd seen him with a gut, as he had visible abs pretty much his whole life. He soon got himself in shape, and years later, in his 60s, he proved that he still had what it took to look great as he posed topless with visible abs while prepping for the 6th Rocky movie. Now 72, if you check Sly's Instagram, you'll see plenty of training video. This is amazing when you think that some people in their 70s are in care homes and can barely walk. Training with Franco and Arnie. In the 80s and 90s, a certain other action hero by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger was also dominating the screen, and the media created quite a rivalry between Sly and Arnie. In reality, this was a friendly rivalry, as the two often trained together and hugged it out. Sly actually hired Arnold's best friend and former Mr. Olympia winner Franco Columbu to be his personal trainer. Franco trained Sly, and they would often train with Arnie down at Gold's Gym in Venice. Franco helped Sly to build lean muscle mass and strip body fat from his frame and got him to an amazing shape. However, to show you why ego lifting is never a good idea, Sly challenged Franco to a bench press contest. Now, Franco, despite being short in height, was big and jacked and was incredibly strong. Sly ended up tearing his pectoral muscle during said bench off and was sidelined for a while. But he was still able to stay in great shape despite the fact that his training was limited. Did Sylvester Stallone take steroids? Now we'll be looking at a few pieces of evidence both for and against potential steroid use on Sly's part. HGH bust. When promoting Rambo 4, Sly was actually stopped by customs in Australia as he tried to enter the country with HGH, or human growth hormone. Now, HGH is not a steroid, but it is an anabolic, and it's often used in conjunction with anabolic steroids by bodybuilders looking to build muscle. Sly claimed that it was for medical use, and as mentioned, it's not a steroid. Despite this, you can understand why some people were skeptical. Gains timeline. Now, since he burst onto screens in the mid-70s, Sly has been jacked. There's only one real role where he wasn't in shape, and that
He didn't even go into any of the way the medication works at all. That's super frustrating. And he didn't even go where he sourced it from, which is like a Chinese manufacturer, and it was like a secretagogue. It wasn't even regular growth hormone from what I looked at. These videos just piss me off so much.
was Copland, where he ate junk food to deliberately gain fat. As the years went by, his size actually went up and down. He was at his biggest probably during Demolition Man, where he looked a good 30 pounds or so heavier than his lightest. Does this mean he used steroids? Absolutely not. As a 5'10" and around 190 pounds, he was hardly enormous, especially when compared to Arnie, who was around 240 in his prime. The gains he's made have been impressive, but we're pretty sure that they could be achieved naturally. His conditioning. Ask any bodybuilder what the hardest part of competing in, and they'll tell you it's the cutting phase when they diet down for a show. They'll also tell you that it's the last few weeks when their body fat percentages drop ridiculously low and they find themselves in extreme caloric deficit. Getting visible abs is tough, yet for Sly, he was virtually always ripped to shreds. At his lowest, he got it to around 3% body fat,
stupid.
perhaps slightly lower even, which is extremely tough to do naturally. Therefore, many people believe that he was using clenbuterol or Winstrol to help him strip away any fat that may have been clinging onto his frame for dear life. As mentioned, not only did he diet down to get in shape, he was always in shape with ripped abs, veins sticking out everywhere, and incredibly muscle cuts and definition, flushed skin. Steroids can cause a person's skin to look flushed and red because they increase blood pressure, which in turn increases a person's core body temperature. This results in skin looking red and flushed as if a person is slightly sunburnt and has just walked out from a sauna or a steam room. If you've seen Sly in Rambo 2, 3, and Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, you'll see that his skin looks decisively red and flushed. So did Sylvester Stallone take steroids, or is he natural? Based on what we know about Sly, we believe that he has steered clear of strong anabolic steroids such as trenobolin, turinabol, or D-bol. But we know that he has used HGH, and perhaps even a strong fat burner as well. Based on this, we'd say that he may not be 100% natural, though at the same time, we wouldn't be completely shocked if he was in fact only using HGH, as his work rate is second to none. So if you've liked this video today and your thumb is in good health, then like that gorgeous video and smash that subscribe button. There's also
This guy is such a turd. Okay. You're not going to be sub at 17% body fat in your 70s. You're not going to hold on to over 200 pounds of muscle mass in your 70s. You're not going to be able to have kids in your 50s, in their 20s, and be able to run around with them like in your early 60s. Like, okay, that just boggles the mind entirely. But in any case, you know, I wanted to kind of show these videos in terms of like celebrities and whatnot, and how they're each and every single one of them are all on hormone replacement therapy, especially once you're above your 40s for sure. Every single one of them are on it. But even if, you know, we're going to go through future videos and whatnot, we're going to see, you know, other transformations, Hugh Jackman and, you know, Chris Pine and Ben Affleck and whatnot, you know, and all these guys are doing crazy transformations. And the one Pakistani or Indian actor who's fairly famous or whatnot, he dropped from I think roughly like 160 down to like a solid 145, completely jacked, and sub 10% body fat or whatnot, and looking completely shredded. And the only way that you can do that is with a strict diet, hormone replacement therapy, and using probably Anavar or other types of oral medications that'll be able to, or even DECA, to be able to help you get to that vascular and heart size or whatnot. But this video is really just to show that every single one of these celebrities are on these medications. They serve a specific purpose. How do you want to maintain living a life that's healthy? Well, you do it through this way. And there's a safe way to do it. The clinical studies have been on upwards in a 650 milligrams of testosterone. Sylvester Stallone's definitely upwards. And, well, maybe now in his 70s, he's probably maybe at like 200 milligrams or something. At like a kind of a normal TRT dose that's kind of basic for everyone, somewhat, and like a free testosterone of like 30 or something like that, your 70s, which is not necessarily something that at least we see today, although we would have saw that in our tribal history or whatnot. And that's something that I want to get into a little bit further on in these videos. Is we don't really look at how things were in the past. And I've been speculating that our testosterone levels in prior to industrialization and prior to when we were living in tribes were 3 to 5,000s, which means our free testosterone would have been at least 100, 200 free testosterone. So I've been speculating that, and I think that can be borne out with longer term studies that we need to have. But I really do appreciate everyone taking the time to watch this video. Please connect with us on Facebook, TRT for Warriors, and please subscribe to the channel. Help us out tremendously. You guys be safe, have fun, and reach out to the various doctors I've suggested in other videos. Dr. Eric Fetty, Fete, Prime X, Elevate MD, Balance My Hormones in the UK, Ledgers in the UK, nplabs.online in Greece and the UK, Elevate Men's Health, the Restore Clinic if you're in Tennessee, Florida, and a few other select states, and Tier 1 in Tennessee. There's various places you can go to get help and get your blood tested, get your levels tested. Don't assume. Figure out where you need to be. If you're a veteran, if you're a car accident survivor, if you're a trauma survivor of any sort, you need to be evaluated and get tested. You guys be safe. Feel free to reach out, and please share this on your Facebook and with your friends.